Jessica, how's the weather in Portland these days?
Oh my gosh, you know what? It feels like it's practically summer here.
Nice compared to the freezing temperature you've had recently.
Exactly. So that is a very native and natural use of the word practically, a little bit sarcastic. A synonym is basically. We are talking about vocabulary today, guys. You are going to get the most useful, amazing adverbs to really hit that band nine in speaking and writing.
Yes, and this is going to help you avoid mistakes that students make very often,
Yeah,
using a word like practically
yeah,
in the wrong context and causing
exactly.
confusion in what you were trying to write either in essays or say in your speaking answers. So I'm excited for you to get these details so you can avoid these mistakes on test day.
Exactly. So we are going to share a mistake with you that a real student made, so you can understand the wrong context of using practically, because it is a tricky word. I see why it is easily confused, right? So we're going to get into this today, guys, but let me explain how I used it at the beginning of the show, because this is great for IELTS speaking. Especially if you are sort of making fun of something, right? So in this case, I am being self deprecating about the weather here because it is obviously not summer, right? We're like still in the winter, dead of winter here, but we just made it through a terrible ice storm when it was freezing, freezing, freezing every day. So today it is not freezing. There's no ice on the ground. So I'm joking. I'm saying it's like practically summer,
Yeah.
right?
In comparison to last week, it's practically summer here today. This
Yep.
is so native and natural and pulls out really interesting intonation. So you are
Yeah.
going to want to use that on IELTS speaking for sure.
Yeah, the use of just that adverb in that sentence is so high level, right?
Yes.
So let's get into some synonyms and some more sentence examples of how you can use this stuff on the test. So, what is another way to say practically?
Yeah. So I'm first going to share this mistake that I saw
Oh,
in
awesome.
this in the
Yes.
essay, right? So
Perfect.
because practically can be used incorrectly, here was the sentence from a task 2 essay. Children are practically vulnerable when they have large animals in their homes, which might hurt them when their parents aren't around. So you see this word practically, it does not work in this way. You
Nope.
can see the student meant to say children are potentially vulnerable or children are possibly vulnerable, right? Children
Mhm.
might be vulnerable.
Exactly.
Practically doesn't mean that.
Nope. So practically is more like
Almost,
almost,
virtually,
right? It's
exactly.
not like a maybe. It's an almost. It's about an amount and not like it's I just stumbled over my words. It's more about an amount, like something that's almost like measurable, right? Like this much. You know what I mean? Whereas what they want to say is like, maybe that's not the same as practically.
Exactly. So we're first going to dive into some alternatives this student could use because you do need to be able to say this that
Mhm.
maybe this way, possibly. So a
Yeah.
very high level way is potentially, right? Children are potentially vulnerable. You could use
Yeah.
this in both speaking and writing. On the speaking exam, you might say, when I arrived, I thought it was potentially the best party I had ever attended, but then it turned out to be super boring.
Exactly. Exactly. So, these adverbs, right? Possibly, potentially, they're more about your certainty, your level of certainty, not an actual measurable amount of something. Right. So that's really the biggest difference here. And that's the mistake that was made. And I understand how, like, it seems like practically should be in the same category as potentially and possibly. But again, different meaning, guys. It was incorrect in that sentence that Aubrey read. So, could you read that good example again, please?
Yes, when I arrived, I thought it was potentially the best party I had ever attended, but then it turned out to be super boring.
Awesome, awesome. So, possibly, maybe, it there was a chance, right? Those are all parallel expressions there. Here's another example, guys. I can't wait to tell you about possibly the best gift I have ever received.
That's a great way to start a part 2
I
answer,
was
right?
just
I'm
thinking
drawn
that.
in. I can't wait to hear the next 2 minutes.
I know, right? All right, guys. So here is another band 9 possibility here as a paraphrase. Ostensibly. Okay, I love this adverb so much, you guys. Ostensibly, super high level, obviously, and it's more of a specific meaning than what we've discussed so far. So it is similar to potentially and possibly, but here is the unique definition of ostensibly. It means it seems this way, but it's probably not, right? So let's see. Here's an example you could use in speaking part one. Ostensibly, my town seems quite boring because it is so small. Actually, though, it's incredibly vibrant. So we're saying, like, it looks that way. It can be perceived that way. It seems this way, but it's not true.
Yes, this is a band 9 word. You could also use it
So
in
good.
writing. Maybe
Yeah.
you could say, I see how libraries ostensibly do not seem modern, as people don't read physical books anymore. However, the other services they offer are invaluable.
I always use libraries as an
You do
example.
a lot. You guys will really be in luck if you're asked in writing task 2 whether you think libraries should continue to exist or not. So we've given you a lot of good examples.
So many great examples. All right, so let's get into this word practically. How do we use it correctly, and what are some paraphrases?
Yeah, so just like you said, this is more about amount. Virtually and almost mean the
Yeah.
same thing. So you could say the room was practically empty, means it was almost empty.
Right? That's measurable. That's about amount. You're looking at a room and you see like there's only one other person there. So it's not empty, but it's almost empty, right? So the
Exactly.
room was practically empty. Yeah.
For speaking part 1, if you're asked about a time you visited a museum, it would be amazing to say, my friends and I went to a museum last weekend and it was practically empty. We had the whole place to ourselves.
Yeah. Or what if you're describing your home or your apartment, right? You could be like, I just moved in, so it's practically empty right now. Or maybe you have too much stuff and you're like, my house is practically overflowing with junk. I need to clear it out and make some space.
So good. I'm excited about all of these adverbs you're learning today because these make it easier to use varied impressive intonation. If you're adding adjectives and adverbs, you
Yeah.
give them a little space, hit them harder, emphasize them, and that's going to help you avoid that monotone you want to avoid on IELTS speaking.
Definitely, definitely. So we have two more adverbs that are the same as practically, but I want to tell you guys, I want to make a note real clear here, guys, that in order to use these on the exam, you have to practice using them, right? So today's podcast, this episode is just the first step to being able to include these band 9 adverbs because we have like basic sentences, right? Nouns and verbs. Now the next level up from that, adjectives. The next level up from that, adverbs, right? So as you're trying to include these new words in your vocabulary, actually write down some speaking answers and then go back and look at your answer and add as many adjectives as you can. And then go back again and add as many adverbs as you can, right? Just take it step by step, guys. All right. So the next paraphrase for practically is virtually. And again, it just means almost. It's exactly the same as almost, right? So here's a task 2 example from an essay. Increased education is virtually the only reasonable solution. I love it.
I love that too, right? Often your answer, your reason in a task 2 essay can be education, right? The government needs to provide education or parents need to educate their children. This would be a great way to add a little support to that, a little power. Like this is virtually the only reasonable solution. I love that.
I think parents need to be educated also.
Yes,
Actually.
absolutely. Increased
I
education for parents is virtually the only reasonable solution.
Oh my gosh, that would solve so many issues.
True.
Okay. For myself included. Like I wish
Same.
there
Oh, I
was
am
a
not
parenting
exempt.
class.
I am not exempt from that.
I just yesterday I was subbing at a school and I was talking to this other woman, this other teacher who's also a mom. And she was talking about this tough time she's going through with her kids and how she doesn't know if she's making the right decisions. And I'm like, we never do. Parents never know if we are doing the right thing or not. Like
Oh,
there's no
man.
class, there's no exam, there's no answers. Anyway,
Well, I
back
love
to
that, and I wanna point out that you just gave an amazing sample answer. If your IELTS speaking question were, "Name a time you weren't sure you were making the right decision,"
oh my
or "You
gosh.
made a mistake," like, there's so many answers. If you guys go back and listen to Jessica's answer, and that amazing intonation and vocabulary she used, Van Nuys,
Dude, if you're a parent, that's all you got. That's all
right?
you need to talk about. Okay. All right. Now, basically, here's the last paraphrase here for practically. I think this is more informal.
Mhm.
I don't think it's appropriate for writing, but for speaking, 100%. I say this a lot, basically.
Yes, for sure, you could say, "I'm basically a department leader, I just don't have the position title yet." Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right, it is a little more informal, so maybe
Yeah.
keep it for speaking. Virtually is a little more formal, it's great for part 3, task 2. These are
Totally.
pretty flexible.
Yeah.
Basically is definitely the most informal of the ones we've taught today.
Definitely, definitely. And I would say, guys, all of the adverbs today that we've taught you, they can be used anywhere on the speaking and writing exams, even ostensibly. We gave you a speaking part 1 example with ostensibly. You can use big words in speaking part
Absolutely.
1, guys. So really basically is the only exception here. Only for speaking, not for writing. Everything else great for anywhere on the exam.
Awesome. I love this episode. I'm excited you guys will be able to avoid this common student mistake. Here, all of these words, they have meaning. You can't just pull something out of the thesaurus and stick it where you want, right? You're going
Right.
to hurt your vocabulary score. So you have to make sure to practice using these in the right context so you can actually boost those vocabulary scores.
Exactly, exactly. All right, guys. So that's it for us today. If you are ready to invest in yourself and your IELTS exam, check out our online course, Lifetime Access, Guaranteed Score Increase. Check it out now, guys. allearsenglish.com/KEYS. And remember, every student in every package gets feedback on their final exam. So check it out, allearsenglish.com/keys. All right, Aubrey, I'll see you next week.
Awesome. See you guys next Monday. Bye.
Bye.